Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows. This is episode 215. I really hope that I don't get in trouble for using Don Henley's Dirty Laundry. It is one of my favorite songs, and I swear if I was ever professional and I could do it, I would play that song every beginning of every episode. But hopefully I won't get into trouble. If I do, I've been in trouble before, so we'll see what happens. Let's try this, see what this tastes like. See, it's okay. And how the hell is everybody out there today? Well, it's been a interesting week, I should say. It's Halloween. It was Halloween week, rather. Halloween was on Tuesday. November 1st was on Wednesday. Tomorrow is November 5th. So November 5th is Bonfire Night, or I keep forgetting what it's also called. It's a British holiday. I know it's Bonfire Night, but what else is it? November 5th. I mean, they made V for Vendetta's about it. So, come on, you know what it's called. Where is it? Guy Fawkes Night. There it is. I knew I'd remember that. Let's write that down. Guy Fawkes Night. I usually remember this stuff, but you know my is all screwed up anyway. We'll talk a little bit about Guy Fawkes Night. Not much, because there's not really much to say, but it is tomorrow. Bonfire Night, whatever you want to call it, over in Britain for the most part. Should be seeing a lot of stuff like that. We got a lot of stuff going on today. And bear in mind that you actually have an extra hour tonight. We'll talk about that as well. First, let's talk some Halloween, because I have some candy I got. I had a crappy Halloween. You know, Halloween has always been one of my favorite holidays. And now here I am chewing and doing a show. But I have no live viewers, so it's not affecting anybody. Thanks, Dennis, for saying you were going to watch. Yeah. Anyway, Halloween is usually one of my favorite holidays. And the main reason why is because it just is. There's been lots of stuff that's happened on Halloween. Those who know, have watched the show, know that something very personal happened to me on Halloween between me and someone else, and you can figure that out on your own. Or if you've watched the show before, you know I talked about it. I even talked about it last week, if I can recall. Anyway, when I worked at Diamond, I always took off Halloween because I was always be making a special dinner for Dawn. I'd be watching Halloween movies and getting ready for the 0 trick-or-treaters we got in our apartment complex. But still kind of fun just to relax and sit back, so I always took that day off. And then when I started working at Hanover, where I work now, we do a Halloween party, which is great. You get to dress up in costumes. There's 2 $50 prizes, $50 cash, so it's not check or whatever. If you win, they pull out a $50 bill and say, boom, it's yours. I've won it 7 of 10 years. No, it's technically 11 Halloweens I've spent there. I've won it 7 of 11 years of Halloween. And I probably would have won this year. But the night before, October 30th, a Monday, the kids were in CCD, and my wife and I, we like to do Pokemon Go, as you know, if you've been watching the show. And so we were going around the neighborhood. The Halloween event was still going on. We were going around our neighborhood, and I pulled the van into the parking lot behind the ski shop up there on Main Street. We got out, and we were walking up and down Main Street because there's like a bunch of Pokestops, and Pokemon were popping everywhere. We were grabbing stuff. So we get back to the car. It's time to head over and pick up the kids. Well, not exactly yet. We still have some time. But we wanted to head back home, and then we would head out and get the kids. So I started the car, and it turned over, but then it started going, and then went, stopped. It's like, oh shit, now what? And nothing came up except for the oil sign on the dashboard, but I know it wasn't the oil because I just got that changed literally about a month ago. So it's still good for a while. I knew it wasn't my battery because I just got a brand new battery not that long ago either. So I tried again, same thing. It turned over and then it went stopped. So I was like, ah, damn it. So we had to walk back. Since luckily we weren't that far away from home, we had to walk back home. We got home. Dawn got into her car and she went to pick up the kids. I called AAA. AAA said they'd be there in like an hour and a half. So I went over there and hung out at the van. And again, tried it again. Same thing. It turned over and then it stopped. So eventually the AAA guy showed up and he said, let me take a look at it, see if maybe it's something I can diagnose for you. And his diagnosis was he thought it was a fuel pump. I said, yeah, usually you get about 5%. I mean, not usually get about 40 or 50%, like a fuel surge or whatever from the fuel pump. That's what makes your car go. But here you only get about 5%. So I think it's something to do with the fuel pump. So I was like, okay. Luckily, the place I was going to have to take a look at my car was just like right down the street. I mean, he got it. He got it on the tow truck, pulled out, took a left, and then took like almost an immediate right. There it was, and dropped the car off. And so I left a note. They had an envelope. I put my car key in and note about everything that was wrong. And then I walked home because, again, not too far away. So at this point, I don't have a car. So I let my boss know that I was not probably going to be in tomorrow on Halloween because my car wasn't working. So I called and said, yeah, I'm not going to be in tomorrow because of that. And the three of us, the way it works is we have two managers, the production manager, which is myself, and the warehouse manager, which is this guy, Dave, and then Jack is our big boss. And the three of us, for our Halloween, for our portion of the Halloween lunch we do, we get a Chick-fil-A tray, which, believe it or not, it was $82 freaking dollars. $82 for a large Chick-fil-A tray. That's a lot of money. But split three ways is not too bad, but still $82 for a large Chick-fil-A tray. Now, we've been doing this for a couple of years, so it's always a big hit, the Halloween party. And plus, I was mad because I got this awesome inflatable Tyrannosaurus Rex costume. I knew I was probably going to win the costume contest this year. I never had gone longer than 2 years without winning at the costume contest, because usually I'm the only one who shows up dressed. So I told my boss, hey, can you go pick it up? You know, it's already, that's under my name. I said I'd call him on Halloween and say, hey, this guy's going to pick up instead. And they were like, okay. Just wanted to be sure that they knew him in case they needed him to produce the card, and they didn't, because they had all the information in the system. They just had to run the card. So my wife went to work early because I was home. So I walked the kids up to the bus stop, and they got on the bus, and they weren't allowed to wear costumes to school, which is fine. They're in elementary school now. You don't really need to wear your costume. But they did have Storybook Character Day, which is if you wanted to dress up in a costume, not necessarily has to be your Halloween costume, but it's your costume that is based on a storybook character. You would have to write a little synopsis of your character, and then in your classroom you'd have to go and you'd have to show up in your costume, and you'd have to do this little presentation. So my son didn't want to do that, but my daughter wanted to go in as Hermione Granger. Now, the two of them, for Halloween, my daughter was Cleopatra, and my son was Charizard. He's a Pokemon guy as well. But my daughter decided that Hermione Granger, who she was a couple years ago, would be a good character for Storybook Day. So we did that. So she did that. And I walked back home. And then I was like, okay, they don't open until 8:30. Now here it is 9:30. They haven't called yet. Okay, it's understandable. They're probably not going to call it about 10:30. Say, hey, we looked at it. This is a problem. When we get to it, we'll get to it. So I said, I may as well just sit here and watch some Halloween movies. So I ended up watching, let's see what I watched on Halloween. I watched The Addams Family, the 1990s version with Raul Julia, Angelica Houston, and Christina Ricci and Christopher Lloyd. Then I watched Cabin in the Woods, and then I watched Sleepy Hollow, Tim Burton's film, also with Christina Ricci and Johnny Depp. Now, I was also off that previous Friday, the 27th. I was taking that day off because I was supposed to be off yesterday, Friday, November 3rd, so I could go see Thor Ragnarok. I'll get in that in a few minutes. But due to a situation, which I'll talk to in a few minutes, I couldn't. So I decided, okay, can I take this weekend off and this Friday off? So they said yes. So I took that Friday off, the 27th, and I watched Halloween because I didn't know I was going to be off at that time. I didn't know I was going to be off on Halloween. I figured I'd watch Halloween, the original classic John Carpenter film, which I always watch on Halloween, but I hadn't watched it the last few years. So I figured, hey, I wasn't going to watch it this Halloween probably, so I may as well watch it when I'm on a day off. And I also watched Casper, which again had Christina Ricci also in it, and Bill Pullman, which is a great film as well. So I watched those films and slept a little bit and ate, and still no call. So now I'm getting a little worried. The place closes at 6 o'clock. So I'm getting worried. It's like, am I going to take another day off? That's going to suck. So eventually I get a phone call about, and I called a couple times. Like, if we haven't had a chance to look at it, we'll let you know when we do. Okay. They've been good so far. I mean, I've never had any complaints with them. So, okay, I understand. So 4:30, they call. Yeah, it's a fuel pump. We'll work on it, and hopefully we can get it done by the end of the day before we close. If not, it'll be done early in the morning. It's like, okay, I can handle that. If they don't finish it today, I can go pick it up at 8:30. They should be done 8:30, maybe the latest 9 o'clock. They'll be done, maybe 9:30 at the latest, and then I could go into work about 10 o'clock. And it'd be like I was taking the kids to the bus stop, which I do sometimes when Dawn has to go into work early. Okay, it's not ideal, but it's tolerable, better than having to take a full day off. So luckily I got the call about 5:40 that it was done. I was like, okay, that's good. So I happened to be in the vicinity because there was a Suicune raid? Yeah, I think it was the first Suicune raid, which is the new legendary in Pokemon Go, at the firehouse across the street from, literally across the street from where my car was. So after we did the Suicune raid, I just walked across the street at about 5:55 and got my car. $682. Now, I went onto YouTube, and it said fuel pumps could cost between $500 and $1,000. So I feel I got the better end of it for it being at $682. Still $682. And sorry, it was melting in my hand. I love Halloween candy. So we did that, and it got fixed, and it's been running fine since. So hooray for that. Now, this was Halloween. So we got back home. We're going to eat real quick, and the kids were going to go out with Dawn, do trick-or-treating. I was going to stay at home and hand out candy because we were going to have a group of people coming together, friends of Noah's and Noel's were going to be there. So it's more fun with a group of people. And then some friends of Dawn's were there too. So they all came over around 6:30, and then they all left. And I stayed at home. I dressed up in my Riddler costume that I wore last year. I didn't want to put on my dinosaur costume just because I was kind of in a crappy mood anyway about things. So I just said, okay. So I got out there, and it was nice. I mean, lots of kids, lots of Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man surprised me was there was very little Wonder Woman costumes. That really surprised me. A couple of Harley Quinns, but not many. There was like one or two Wonder Woman ones, but I thought there was going to be a whole lot more. Not a lot of Harley Quinn ones either. I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. A lot of Spider-Man. A lot of like Master Chief, I guess, like the Call of Duty guy. A lot of them as well. I remember a lot of the girls were. Well, there's not really a lot of Disney. To be honest, I can't remember a lot of what the girls were wearing, but some of them were crazy stuff, but it was a different Halloween because I didn't really see a lot of, I saw a lot of Supergirls, which was interesting. I think I saw more Supergirls than I saw Wonder Woman's. And just it was nice. We got a lot of people, not as many as I think we usually got. We normally get a good amount because being in a townhome community, you basically have endless doors you can go to. Not everybody, of course, gives out candy, but you have lots of houses in the area, and it's a pretty much self-contained area. We're all dead end. Well, our road ends on a dead end, and then the others are all connected to the roads that lead out of the neighborhood. So you have a nice little swoopy area you can go. And there's lots of people who decorate. And there's lots of people who walk in, people drive in, stuff like that, and take over. So we got a lot of people. So we usually get about 3 bags of candy. So we got 3 bags of candy, like we usually do. And we had an extra bag from the trunk or treat that I talked about on last week's episode at the school, where I didn't think there was a lot of people involved in it as usual this year. I don't know why. So I decided I'd start with that. There was the bag was 80 pieces, so I said, okay, I'll start with that, and that ran out pretty quickly. And then I threw in the 350 some piece one, which was a lot of Starburst, Skittles, and bubble gum, stuff like that. That pretty much lasted most of the night. And then I just to get the last bit of stragglers, I opened up one of the candy bar ones and threw those in there. So basically we had a bag and a half of candy left over. Now Dawn took the half bag. It's a little bit more than a half. I just barely skimmed the top of it. She took it because when she runs panels at her work at McCormick, where they taste sometimes awful tasting samples to stuff like that, she gives them a treat as a reward, and they get some candy and whatever. So she takes such work like that. So she said, you can keep the other bag. I was like, yes. So the other bag only has Kit Kats and Reese's Pumpkins, because everybody knows the show knows I love Reese's. And so I've been chowing down on that, not entirely all the time because I don't want to get fat. I mean, I already am fat, but enough. I might take it to work. We'll see. So we had that. Some interesting takebacks from Halloween. One of the neat things we saw was someone actually tied a balloon to one of our sewer grates to imitate the It thing, and that was hilarious. I'd never seen that before. I mean, I'd seen it in other like videos and stuff like that, but never anywhere in our neighborhood, and there it was. It was awesome. And last year, I was the Riddler proper. I went out with the kids and I did the work. I wore to work and all this stuff, so I was the Riddler. I did an episode last year where I couldn't believe how many people called me the Joker or a leprechaun. I was like, are you kidding me? You don't know the Riddler? I mean, I have question marks all over me. I mean, question marks on the hat, a question mark staff, question marks all over me, and you call me the Joker? What's the matter with you, man? But everybody was doing it. So then this year, Saturday, I think I might have talked about this last week's episode. We did the Reisterstown Reisterstown Main Street trick or treat, and there were a couple people got that I was Riddler. A few people called me Joker, and a guy running for one of the county offices called me a leprechaun. Okay, whatever, dude. So I couldn't wait to see what Halloween was going to bring, because last Halloween when I was out about with the kids, I got a lot, again, of the Joker and leprechauns. This year, same thing. Actually, more leprechauns than Jokers this year. Luckily, there were at least 2 or 3 people who knew I was the Riddler, which was good. And there were some little kids dressed up as Batman, which was cute. So I pretended to, like, I'm going to be your worst enemy, and, but here's some candy. Here's a truce for the night or something like that. So that was kind of cool. So again, I think regardless of whenever I wear it, I'm still going to get Joker and Leprechaun, despite the fact that I have question marks all over me. But what am I supposed to say? There was a costume where somebody dressed as the Headless Horseman, which is really cool. I mean, they had no head. I mean, you had no head, and you could just barely see their eyes, like between where the stump was and the cape. It was just like, it's like, can you see it in there? I was like, yeah, I'm all right. So that was interesting. There was one other one I just thought of. I can't remember. So That might have been the best costume of the night that I saw. So I did that. What the hell did I write there again? Oh well. So, I talked about this already. So what I was saying is I was supposed to take off yesterday. I was supposed to take off yesterday, supposed to stay home, supposed to go see Thor Ragnarok, and MJ Khan and I were supposed to do our comic book episode this weekend of Dylan Knows and just review the film. So earlier in the week, I realized, last week I realized I wasn't going to be able to do the 3rd because the warehouse manager, Dave, always goes on vacation around this time. So I figured, I knew he was going to be gone next week, but then he said he was going to leave early on Friday, which is his prerogative. He's got the time. Go for it, dude. If you want an extra long vacation, go for it. I mean, that makes it 10 days. That's awesome for you if you can. So good for him. And then my boss, my big boss, Jack, was just like, yeah, I won't be in till like 12 because he's got a family thing going on. So if I would have taken the 3rd off, there would be no coverage at all in the warehouse till 12 o'clock. I mean, yeah, the co-owners company could come out, but they don't like to do that. They got other stuff they got to deal with. So I reluctantly said, okay, I'll come in on the 3rd. Can I have off the 27th? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. So I just switched those out because at the time I didn't know I was going to have car problems. I thought I was going to be there on Halloween. Everything was going to be hunky-dory. So I did that. And then I also discovered at the same time that my boss, Jack, is taking a long weekend down to Ocean City, Maryland. Again, his prerogative. He's got the time. Why not go for it? But that leaves me in charge of the entire warehouse, the warehouse production area and everything like that for 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. Now, I've done that before. A couple years ago when Jack was on vacation during the summer, Dave and I were fine Monday through Wednesday, and then he had some sort of eye problem, was out Thursday and Friday, so I was in charge by myself on Thursday and Friday. Now, Dave himself had a problem a couple years ago where Jack and I were on our week vacation at the same time, so he was the boss for a full week, so I guess I can't complain that much. But it's not, it's not too easy to do that. So I got a craptastic day coming up. So I'll be having the next 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. I'll be by myself at the warehouse running the show. I've been there for 10 years, so I know what I'm doing. So it's just going to be long, annoying, rough. So hooray for me. Yeah, I talked about that. So let's see, what do we got? Got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. There's a lot of really neat stuff. All right, may as well do this as well. I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks because it's a big deal for me. Because for those who've watched the show and who know me personally also, they know I'm a big comic book guy. And I just mentioned MJ Khan and I do a comic book show. And before I finish that, MJ and I will be back next week. So next weekend's Dylan Knows will be our review of Thor Ragnarok because my wife and kids are going to be going down to my in-laws' house Friday night into Saturday to watch a play. I didn't really want to go. I love theater, don't get me wrong, but I just got off work and it's just going to be a long day, and I just want a chance to just chill and relax my weekend, and particularly with having to run the place. Basically, also on Friday, my boss decided to switch it around. He came in early and worked till about 10 o'clock, and then he left for the rest of the day. So I've been in control from about 10 o'clock on Friday all the way through till Wednesday morning. When he comes in, I'll be in charge by myself. So after that, I kind of want a breather to myself. So my wife understands, and we'll talk about that when I discuss marriage in a little bit. So they're going to go down there. So I think Friday night after work, I'm going to head out. I'm going to see Thor Ragnarok at the local movie theater. And then MJ and I will be able to discuss it. And it was very good that I mentioned it to MJ that I wasn't going to be available to do the show this weekend because I'm not going to see the movie. Because he said, oh, yeah, I'm at a convention in Las Vegas. I won't be able to see it either till next weekend also. So we'll be able to discuss it. To give us time on the weekend, it'll probably be on Sunday. So next Sunday, the 11th, right? No, 12th. The 12th of November will probably be a new episode of Dylan Knows with MJ Khan. We'll be doing our Thor Ragnarok review. So we'll do that then. But I've been talking about this for a while. I love my local comic book store. I can't say enough about it. You know what? I should get them to pay to sponsor my show because I mention them so many times. And the fact is, I also spend lots of money there too. But my store is called Cards, Comics, and Collectibles. It's in Reisterstown. Now, the owner, Mark, is the guy who created and runs the Baltimore Comic Con, which is one of the best cons, according to the professionals, of the year. He always gets lots of the big talent because they love Baltimore and he treats them well. And it's usually in September, so that it's right between, you know, the big cons. It gives them a little con they can do, a little traveling they can do. But we get a lot of big talent, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. So he's been running it for, geez, almost 17, 18 years now. But his store is my local store. Now, for the longest time, since I moved here in 2004, it's always been my store. And it was always in a strip mall that has a Bill Bateman's, which we have our regulars at. My family is regulars at Bill Bateman's because it's a nice place. It's got a Chinese food place in it, and a carry out, and a dollar store, and a liquor store, and a bank, and, you know, typical stuff you expect from a strip mall. So my comic book store was there, and it's right next to a gym as well. But then about a month or so ago, I started seeing this weird stuff showing up on Facebook, because I follow them on Facebook, about a new location. I was like, what? And so eventually I sat down and talked to Chuck, who is the guy who is the employee who's been there forever also. It seems like they're the only two who run the place, Mark and Chuck. And I talked to Chuck. I was like, hey, what's going on with this? He's like, yeah, we're moving. And I was like, where are you moving to? I was like, you know, where the old rental place is. I was like, yeah, it's right top of my street. He's like, yeah, that's where we're going. Now, there was for the longest time, for about 30 some years, there was a rental place right at the top of my street. So you come out of my neighborhood, you take a right, go to the top of the road, Main Street's right there. Literally, yeah, it's a stop sign from my road, this one road, to Main Street. Cross Main Street, that's where the comic book store is going to be. This is where the rental place was, called Bay City Rentals or Bay County Rentals. And it would rent, you know, like trucks for moving, snow blowers, lawnmower machine, whatever you needed. It was a big thing. It was put into an old movie theater. It used to be a movie theater in the old days, in the 60s. You can see that it has the same look of a movie theater. It was one of those like single movie theater ones that were so popular back in the old days. And but they've been there forever. And then the guys who ran it, they decided they were going to retire. So now this building was like, oh, great. I was like, oh, great. Another building that's going to be empty, because there's lots of vacant buildings on Main Street, which is why I want to put my Pop Culture Coffee, which is another thing I've talked about on my other shows. I want to put one of my Pop Culture Coffee places in one of these places to keep Main Street alive. So send lots of money. If I do a GoFundMe page, please pay me lots of money so I can hit this dream of mine. And I could get a new studio for this show and do it at the coffee shop. Anyway, so then Chuck tells me, yeah, we're moving in there. I was like, okay, that's great. And he was like going to tell me it's huge, which I can imagine. I've never been to Bay City Rentals, so I never rented anything from them. I was like, yeah, it's like 100, not 100, but like it was like 50 to 100 times bigger than this place is. He said, in fact, our back room is the size of the store we have now, which is amazing. So I was like, wow, if your back room is the size of the store you have now, the main store is going to be huge. Well, they were going to open. It's over 5,000 square feet. Yeah, this is the ad that they gave out. I'll just give you 51 Main Street, Reisterstown, Maryland 21136. So they were going to open November 1st. So after this crappy Halloween, I was like, okay, something to get excited about. It's New Comic Book Day on November 1st. I can go check it out with Noah, because Noelle has drama kids. And so I would take Noah there, and we'll go in there and get my new comics. Yeah, even after spending $682 on my car, I still had money to get comics. So, yeah. So I get there, and it's not quite finished. Now, it was finished enough that they could get the cash wrap up, and they got the shelf that has the new comics, but a lot of the shelves in the back were not completed yet. They weren't filled with any of their trades or anything like that. There were a few things here and there and some stuff like that. So we just got a general idea of what it was going to look like. It's like, okay, this is cool. It is. It's big. My son was running around in the back. Mark came to see me and says, "Hey, Dylan, it's good to see you." He says, "You're home," meaning, yeah, this could, this is like going to be your place. Like, it's like, absolutely. So, and then a guy I used to work with at Diamond, Steve, who I see almost every week when I go on Wednesdays. He comes at the same time I do. And, we declare pleasantries, but we don't really talk that much. We were talking to each other up a storm. It was great. Because I worked with Steve for 9 months, and I knew him before then as well when I worked at Diamond for like 4 years prior to that. But I actually physically worked with him as part of our group, brand managers. He was brand manager for 9 months, so I knew him pretty well. And I always see him, I'd say hi, and he'd say hi back, and that was about it. We didn't really talk much. But today, the new shop, we were all in the excitement, and we were chit-chatting about everything. It was great. It was fantastic. So I've been going by the shop every day this week just because it's right on Main Street. I always pass it every day because I always am right here. My road is right here. And I've been checking, and it's been looking okay. I hadn't really been noticing because it's been light and you can't really see inside because of the light and light stuff. Well, tonight was the first time where we actually were out when it was a little bit darker, and the lights were on. And as I pulled up to where I always turn, which is right in front of the store, I looked over. I could see into the store. It looks like it's ready. I mean, fully ready. The shelves look like they're full of books. They'd moved some stuff around. It's like, I need to get back in there, check it out again. So I'm really excited. So my new store is right. My comic book store is right at the top of my street. I could walk to it if I wanted to. It would take me 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes to get there by car, 5 minutes by walking. I'm so excited. I really am. It's so great. And it is. It's a nice store. And I love them. They're great guys. I love the location. And when Mark said your home, I was like, yes, I am. And it made me feel good. The owner of the company says, and I can't say enough about Mark. I told you before where I went to the Baltimore Comic-Con with my family. And we showed up. We got our tickets. We're getting ready to go downstairs. And Mark's talking to other people. I mean, it's his thing. He's got to be everywhere. He stops talking to whoever these people are, come over and just say hi and say hi to the family and tell them they're glad to see me. Stuff like it's so great. So cheers to you guys. You guys did it. Looking forward to getting my wife and daughter in there as well. Looking forward to Free Comic Book Day there. They had a signing today. Joe Pruitt, who is a writer of a book called Black Eyed Kids, was there. He's also done some other stuff for Image. He was there today, so that's really cool. And they have more space now, so they can probably get more talent. And since Mark has the connection, it's fantastic. So that added to making the week okay. So after my crappy Halloween, my comic store opened and everything was great. My car was working fine. And then, of course, my boss leaves me by myself Friday, and I have to run the joint. No, okay. Then, more good stuff started to happen. I can't remember if it was Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was Thursday. It's November 2nd now. Pick up my son, and afterwards he's like, "Dad, guess what I did in class today?" I was like, "What'd you do, buddy?" He said, "I made comics." Now, I used to make comics when I was a kid, too. And my daughter made some every once in a while, not as much anymore. But I was like, really? Because my son had never really shown any interest in drawing. So he had all these stacks of books that he drew. Now, he's 8, and, he's still young, and he still doesn't quite, he hasn't drawn as much lately. But the fact is, he had all these things. He had a story, and I was so proud of him. I really was. And it's so great, and so happy for him. And then his teachers showed it to his class and stuff like that, and he answered questions about it apparently the next day. So that's pretty cool. And then my daughter said the same day, "I got a ribbon for my trombone." I was like, okay, that's awesome too, because she's been playing trombone really well for the last month or so. And it's not as bad as you think it is. Really, she plays only for about maybe 5 minutes at that, and it doesn't sound too bad. Well, could I be jaded because he's my daughter? Sure, maybe. But the fact is, she won a ribbon, and I didn't think it sounds so bad. So, I'm talking about that too. This is all this week. Ha! November 2nd. Speaking of November 2nd, the weirdest thing happened. Now, for the last few months, when we've driven further down Main Street, which Main Street is Main Street only till a certain place called Hannah More, which is like an old academy. It's still a kids' academy. It's a playground and a picnic area and stuff like that. That's where the Reisterstown Fair is. Once you get there, Main Street shifts to Reisterstown Road. Now, Reisterstown Road can take you all the way into Baltimore City. So if you wanted to, you could drive from Main Street all the way down into Baltimore City, just through Reisterstown Road. Now, once you get past Pikesville, it gets a little dicey, but it's still, for all intents and purposes, you could drive directly into Baltimore City from Reisterstown Road. Now, of course, there's lots of lights and lots of stopping and lots of other stuff going crazy down there, so it's going to take a long time to get from Reisterstown to Baltimore. But the fact is, if there's a scenario where the Beltway is just way too packed or just too crazy or stalled or whatever, it'll take some time, but you can just go straight down Reisterstown Road into Baltimore. So once you get past Hannah More, it becomes Reisterstown Road. Now, again, once you go down Reisterstown Road a little bit further, eventually you're going to hit the area called Owings Mills. Now, there's some side areas, side roads you go to, and you get deeper into the Owings Mills area. But just before Owings Mills, the Franklin High School is. Now, I've talked about the Franklin High School before, too. The local high school has been ranked in the top 50 high schools in the country a couple times by one of those school magazines or whatever. So the fact that this small school has been ranked in the top 50 schools in the country is a pretty good sign. Their football team has won the state football championship a few years now. For the last, let's see, I started following them really a lot more closely the last 5 or 6 years. They've won it like 3 times. And have been to it a couple other times and lost. So I don't know if they've been to it all 5 years, but maybe it's been longer that I've been following them. But they've won it at least 2 or 3 years since I've been following them, and they've lost once that I can recall top of my head in a pretty bad fashion. I mean, it was 40-34 or something like that. So they could have won it. They just didn't. So when you go to Franklin High School, it's really interesting. Because, you know, high school kids, they eat a lot. They're teenagers. They have lots of energy and power. They eat a lot. So there's a McDonald's next to Franklin High School, literally right next to it. Go across the street, there's another strip mall, not the one where my comic book store is, it's a different one. There's a Burger King right there. So there's also this area that's been pretty much a junk area for a while, and there have been some stuff is okay, we're going to start building up on it, and then they would start building on it, but then they lost some money or whatever. But now eventually they're starting to refurbish it now, and the first thing they decided to put there, Chick-fil-A. It makes sense, right across the street from McDonald's, right down the street from Burger King, so you get the triumvirate. So if you're a high school kid, damn, you go to McDonald's if you want. You can go to McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and Burger King for lunch if you're allowed off campus. Why not? Boom, it's right there. They probably make bank because kids, they subsist on fast food. And you're going to get a constant stream of kids. It's not, well, these kids are just going to eat fast food, but this next group of high school kids, they're not going to. No, they're all going to. So now you have a Chick-fil-A now. So now you have 3 choices for the high school kids. Plus they have chances place they can work if they want to also. So good on them. Good for them. That's fantastic. So it's been being built for a while. And November 2nd, the day after my comic book store reopened, they opened Chick-fil-A. Now, for those who know, or you might not know, but I'm going to tell you anyway, Chick-fil-A has a deal where when they open a new store, on the first day, if you're one of the first 100 people into the store, 100 people inside the store, as soon as it opens, it's 6:30 in the morning, you will get Chick-fil-A for free for a year. Now, I like Chick-fil-A. As I said, I bought the Chick-fil-A nugget tray for a Halloween party every year. Their breakfast, chicken, egg, and cheese biscuit is like my breakfast fuel. Whenever I take a day off of work, or if I can sneak out, if I'm doing something early morning on the weekends and the family's still back home sleeping or just chilling out in the house, I go to, like when I had to get my emissions checked, my emissions is right by another Chick-fil-A. So after I got my emissions checked, I drove over to Chick-fil-A. I got something to eat. Black Friday last year, I got out early. That was a whole nother story, which you have to watch an old episode of Dylan Knows from about a year or so ago. So that'd be like 52 episodes from now. So 215, 205, 195, 185, 175, 165, around the 160-ish era. Or yeah, around the 160th-ish episode, you will see my story about my Black Friday experience. Anyway, I was out at 6:30 in the morning. I was out before then. I was out there like 4 a.m. on Black Friday. I was there at 6:30 in the morning. I went and I got Chick-fil-A sandwich. It was great. So on the 1st, I was coming back from work and I wanted to stop at Hannamore because Hannamore is a good Pokemon stop. I wanted to get my Pokestops and maybe hit the gym that's there, maybe add a Pokemon to the gym, since I didn't really get a chance to go out on Halloween since I was house-ridden, as it were, because I didn't have a vehicle. So I'm driving down the road. Now, this is the day before Chick-fil-A opens. So there's a light, like right there. So I'm stopped at the stoplight, and I'm looking right at the Chick-fil-A. In the back of the Chick-fil-A, in the parking lot area, is a tent city. And as I'm driving past, I get closer, there is a group of people sitting in a circle and a Chick-fil-A guy talking to them. These people wanted to be one of the 100 to get the free Chick-fil-A for a year. So they literally camped out the night before it opened. Let me repeat that. The night before a Chick-fil-A opened, a bunch of people set up tents to spend the night outside the day before so they could go in and get their free Chick-fil-A for a year. There was more than 100 people there, I think, to be honest. A full day before it opened, Tent City had set up. I mean, I guess it's not unusual because people camp out for Black Friday deals. They camp out for iPhones sometimes, maybe not so much anymore. Sometimes even movie premieres. They haven't done it as much, but it's crazy. Would I ever do that? No, I don't think so. As I said, I like Chick-fil-A, but I don't know if I would spend a day off of work and take a vacation day to sit in a tent city in a strip mall to get free fast food chicken for a year. Because I don't even know if I don't even get a chance to go down to Chick-fil-A all that much, you know? And the one I go to is a little bit further, is down on Owings Mills Boulevard. So would I change because this one's closer? Yeah, maybe. But I'm thinking this one's going to be much busier because it's right across the street from the high school. So just a interesting thing I noticed. Okay, what do we got here? Just real quick, happy birthday to Godzilla. His birthday is today, so or as Gojira, as he's known. The first American version of it, directed by the team that did Independence Day. That Godzilla sucks ass. It does. It was I did a top 10 worst movie list of all time with Jerry Fletcher a couple years back. It was up there. It wasn't number 1, but it was up there. It was terrible. Roland Emmerich directed it. It was awful. It was terrible. Matthew Broderick was in it. It was awful. It was terrible. But I've seen the original Gojira, as it's known in Japan, or Godzilla here in America, where Raymond they had to do a bookend Raymond Burr stuff to get Americans to watch it. So they filmed Raymond Burr in Japan and then bookended it, edited into the film. And he only appears like at the beginning and the end and maybe in the middle once. And the rest of the movie is just what you expect from a Godzilla movie. And then it went off on his tangent where he would take on, you know, other creatures. And then it goes all crazy. And then the Mystery Science Theater 3000 crew did their take on it. It's hilarious. The Godzilla movies are fun. They really are. I haven't seen the new one with Bryan Cranston that came out, which is going to be part of this shared universe now with the King Kong from Kong Island. The next one, they're going to do a Godzilla 2, which I think is filming now. I think it's, or either stop filming, it might come out next year or 2019. I think it's next year. And then King Kong's sequel is going to be King Kong versus Godzilla. So it's going to be two of them taking on each other. So should be interesting. But happy birthday to Godzilla. Always fun to see those. The marriage thing is my big story. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Let's see. I'll get to about the first hour of the show, which is going to be in about 15 minutes. So I'll get some other stuff to talk about before I get to that. Speaking of comic books, and then I'll switch to something else. Speaking of comic books, a few years ago, back, not a few years, actually like 20-some years ago, back in the early 90s, one of my favorite writers, Peter David, was tasked with taking over Aquaman. Now, don't get me started on Aquaman. If you've watched my show with MJ Khan, I'm not a fan of Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I know all the women are swooning because he's got the abs and shit, and the come hither, fuck me eyes. But I'm not a big fan of his because, you know, you can call me a purist, and I know the movies are different than the comics, but, you know, Aquaman is not a terrible character despite what might appear in the Super Friends cartoons and stuff like that and the memes you've seen before. He's not. And it's just, you just have to have, much like with Superman, you need to have the best writer on him to truly get the character. And I think Dan Abnett, who's writing him now, has got a good take on the character. Jeff Johns had a good take on the character. And Peter David had a good take on the character. And Peter David wrote him in the early 90s. And in order to prep people for his run on Aquaman, he wanted to bring a little bit more of a legendary Game of Thrones-esque type of storyline to it. So he created I think it was either 6 or 8 issue miniseries called The Atlantis Chronicles with, I think, Spanish artist Esteban Morato. And it is one of the best comic book stories I have ever read in my life. And I'm not just whistling Dixie. It really is. The problem was DC never collected it in trade paperback. Never, ever. And I don't know why. I mean, people were asking for it, and maybe it didn't do so well in sales. I don't know for sure. But they never, if they put everything in trades, they never did a trade of the Atlantis Chronicles, as far as I could tell, because I never saw it anywhere. So I was like, okay. So then when every Monday I check to see what's new in comic books. I go to the Diamond website, diamond.com, which is different. They have a new thing where you come to Coming This Week. It's a section on their website, and they actually now have thumbnails of every cover of books that are coming out this week. And if you click on it, it'll give you creative teams and the story and stuff like that. So it's really kind of cool now. In the old days, it used to be, okay, you click on this and just be a list of all names, okay, Batman, Superman, Daredevil, Aquaman, whatever. It'd just be, and then what issue it was, and that was it. They didn't give you any other information. Here you get the covers, the creative team, and a little bit of the story. And it's awesome because they have, you know, all these Marvel and DC comics now have, and even Image somewhat have alternate covers. They have multiple covers. This section has all the covers on it. So you say, okay, let me see which one I like the best so that when I go to the comic book store, I can look for it. Instead of just saying, oh, okay, let's see what the cover's going to look like. You show up, it's like, oh, I'm surprised. Look, there it is. Or maybe the good cover has all been taken and the only one I have left is this one. But now you have a chance to see if there was more than one there. And so I've seen some good ones. So I checked on Monday to see what was coming out this week. And I saw the Atlantis Chronicles Deluxe hardcover. And I basically climaxed in my pants, as it were. It's that good of a series. And to put it in a deluxe style hardcover trade paperback, giving it what it deserves, because a hardcover is always nicer than a soft cover, obviously. It's $50. So I didn't buy it this week because I didn't have the money. Maybe if they have a Thanksgiving sale, they usually have a Thanksgiving sale at the comic store, maybe I'll buy it then. Or I said, let me check Amazon. I have a list on Amazon of stuff that I want to get for Christmas, birthdays, whatever. I also have a list of stuff I want to get the kids and my wife as well. let me see if Amazon has it. Amazon had it for $44, but it was not going to be released until this week. So the comic book stores got it a week early, obviously, which makes sense. So Amazon is going to be getting it in stock next week. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put that on my list. Boom. So now I can put that on my Christmas list if I can wait that long, and hopefully I'll get it then. Or I can just say, maybe I'll just buy it now. Maybe this week when my wife gets paid, maybe if they have a copy of it. Gotta watch my show, The Comic Call, which is another one I do where I show you everything that I bought. If I decide to buy it, gotta watch to find out. To be continued. But definitely, it's out this week. If you have a local comic book store near you, run, don't walk there tomorrow. Ask to see if they have the Atlantis Chronicles hardcover. Check the new this week section because it is new this week. Check and see if they have a copy of it. If they do, spend the $50 on it. It's going to be worth it. I promise you. It's a great story. Let's not talk about this comic just yet. I will talk about that in a second because that's kind of interesting. Talk about food and then this other thing here. Hot chocolate Oreos. I mentioned these a couple weeks ago when I just saw that it's going to be out for the winter. Now with Halloween over and done with, the grocery stores now throwing Christmas candy everywhere, which is stupid because Thanksgiving is still a major holiday. Now grocery stores, they do something a little bit different. They've got turkeys and special deals on turkeys and pumpkin pie filling and potatoes and dressing and all kinds of crazy shit and cranberries, stuff like that. But they still have where the Halloween candy was is now all Christmas candy. They don't have Thanksgiving candy. So it's all Christmas candy, and they've got winter stuff out there. So you had the Halloween Oreos, which was an orange cream Oreo, which is delicious. It really is good. But I mean, it's just basically it's an Oreo with orange cream. I mean, that's all it was. They do a winter one. It's not Christmas. It's a winter one where it's red icing. So I got that because I know the kids like the Halloween one, so I got the red one. And then they had the hot chocolate Oreo. Now, for those who've been keeping score, Oreo has been going absolutely crazy this year with all the flavored creams that they've had. Now, they're in smaller packages than the regular size ones are. And there are some really good ones. Cinnamon Rolls is a good one. My wife loves the red velvet one. I'm not a big fan of red velvet, but she loves the red velvet one. The peanut butter one was good. The birthday cake one's pretty good. The cinnamon one is good. They have a cinnamon bun. They also have like another cinnamon one as well. They have a cookie butter one. I've never had cookie butter, so I couldn't tell you. I never bought it. It's still in my store. Maybe I'll buy one. But see, I don't want to buy it and then taste it and say, God, this is awful, and just throw them out. I don't want to do that. But they had hot cocoa Oreos. Now, I bought them because it's hot cocoa. Why not? I like to try new stuff all the time. In fact, I have a new Mountain Dew, which is a blue Arctic flavor, which I've never seen before. So hopefully that'll be good because I bought a 12-pack. So there's the hot cocoa Oreos next to the red creamed winter Oreo. So I bought one of each. My son wanted to try the hot chocolate one, so I let him have a couple. Let him try it first, see if he liked it, and then I gave him a couple more because he did. And I said I'd try it also before I did the show. It tastes like Oreos. There might be a slight tinge of a marshmallow flavor to it, but basically that's it. It's supposed to be hot cocoa with marshmallows in it. So you get a little bit of a flavor of marshmallow, though it's not too strong. It just tastes like a regular Oreo to me. It's still good. It's still fun. Why not? It's Christmas. It's winter. Hot cocoa's good on that end. Speaking of which, it's that time of the year again. It's 10:25 p.m. Eastern Time, live. I'm doing the show live right now. That's what time it is right this moment as I'm talking. Live, it's 10:25 p.m. Now, you might be catching this on replay when I post it later today or tomorrow, and you'll be like, what the hell are you talking about? It's 4 in the afternoon. But at this moment, it's 10:25 p.m. on a Saturday night. Tonight, Saturday, of course, this isn't going to help any if you're watching this on Sunday or Monday. Remember to turn your clocks back an hour. This is daylight losing time, as I like to call it, because it shifts now. Now, for the longest, when daylight savings time hits in March, the mornings are darker and the afternoons are lighter. So it gets lighter in the evening, and gradually you notice during the summer, the sun doesn't go down till like 9 o'clock at the pinnacle of summer. And then gradually it starts going down sooner and sooner. And you've been probably noticing lately that it's now been going down about 6:30, probably nowadays. And it's still dark when you get up. Well, guess what? As of tomorrow, that's flipping. Before you go to bed on Saturday night, if you happen to be watching this in the next couple hours, which I don't know if I'll be able to post it in time, regardless, tomorrow, Sunday, if you haven't done already, turn your clocks back. Remember, fall back, spring forward. So you're saving an hour now. So you're actually going to get an extra hour of sleep this week. Don't forget to do that. It is, so you'll be, so technically it's 9:26 p.m. now, even though it isn't really, because daylight's losing time doesn't happen until 2 a.m., which has got to be pretty cool if you're at the bars, because bars close at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Last calls around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. And if you go out on this night, it's at 2 a.m. So you get to 2 a.m. and then it goes back to 1 a.m. So now you got 2 more additional hours of bar time, which is great. So that's fantastic. So don't forget, turn your clocks back an hour. Now, it's already started this week on social media, all these shares, don't forget turn back time, blah, blah, blah memes. You see that. And then you also get to see all the people, I hate daylight savings time. This is so stupid. Why do we have to deal with this? I don't understand what the problem is. Because now it's going to be lighter in the morning and darker at night. Yes, it's going to suck coming back home from work. It's going to be dark. Going into work, though, it's going to be light. And then it's going to last until about winter, where it's going to be kind of dark in the morning and dark in the, but not too dark in the morning, and it's going to be dark in the evening. And then it's going to get lighter. I don't understand the hate for the daylight savings time. Yes, it sucks in the spring when you lose an hour, when you have to go from, it's 2 a.m. now. Oh, shit, it's 3 a.m. Frig, I just lost an hour. And Sunday, that you change isn't so bad, but the Monday, your first day into work, you're like, oh, God, it's only supposed to be 6 a.m., but it's 7 a.m. What is going on? But now it's going to be different. It's going to be like, wow, it's 7 a.m.? Man, it feels like 8 a.m. What's all that about? I don't get the hate for it. Do you hate turning your clocks back an hour? Do you hate one time a year losing an hour, one time a year gaining an hour? I don't get the hate. I've always liked daylight savings and daylight losing time. I have no problem with it. I like changing the clocks. I like seeing things change like that. It used to be that this would happen the weekend of Halloween, but they moved it another month or up another week, because they want to have daylight savings time more often. Now, that seems to be the trend. They want to keep daylight savings time all year round. A lot of people seems to be the focus. So this daylight losing time doesn't help any. I just don't get the hate for it. Why do you hate changing your clock? It's, you lose an hour, you gain an hour. It's one time, once in March, once in November. That's it. Does it take your body a little while to get accustomed to it? Yeah, sure. But you know what? It gets accustomed to dealing with stuff like that, because stuff changes all the time, and you just got to, if you're not prepared for it, you should get prepared for it, How you prepare for it? Well, just basically suck it up. You're losing an hour and you're saving an hour. What's the difference? I mean, to be honest, does that mean, my kids are going to get up at 6 a.m. tomorrow rather, instead of 7 a.m.? Yeah, sure, probably. But to be honest, I don't really see a change. I don't see what the big deal is. I don't know why people complain about changing the clocks. That's just me. I am a Pokemon Go player, as you all know. My wife and I both are. My wife is a little bit more obsessed with it than I am, and we got our kids their little mini phones, so they've been getting onto it. Both of them have reached level 25, which is good. I'm a level 32, right? And Dawn's level 34, so they're not too far behind us. But the legendaries have been coming out since the summer. We had the legendary birds, and then we had Mewtwo, and now we had legendary dogs. There's 3 legendary dogs. We've had 2 of the 3 over the last 2 months. The final one came out on Halloween, November 1st. Actually, Halloween, because we did it right across the street from the place where my car got fixed. And it's Suicune, who is the water type. And so legendaries are hard to catch, and I have the other 2. And I started off pretty bad. The first 2 times we did it, I didn't get them. I got them my 3rd time. We did one this morning. I didn't get it. And we did one this evening. I got it again. Now my son is absolutely freaking out because he hasn't gotten them yet. And he's always, it's never going to get it. I hate this, blah, blah, blah. And he's complaining. He's crying. He's upset. I understand. Look, he's a young kid. He wants all the, and he hates being the only one who doesn't have it because my daughter has 2, my wife has 2, and now I have 2. And he has 0. So he feels left out or whatever, and that upsets him. And that's more along the lines of something more about him, even though we don't preclude him from anything. And he has something, he has stuff that my daughter doesn't have. My daughter has stuff he doesn't have. And my wife has a lot of stuff that I don't have in Pokemon Go. And I have some, actually, I don't think I have anything my wife doesn't have. So, and then it's just a game, and it's hard for my son to reconcile that. So he's got upset. So it goes until the end of November. So we got our chances, but I have 2 already. My daughter has 2. My wife has 2. My son has 0. So pray for my son, and hopefully he gets one. Once he gets one, he'll be fine. He'll be absolutely fine. Once he gets one, he won't feel, I'm the only one who didn't get him. And we keep telling him all the time. With me, one of the birds was Lugia, which is the big one. It took 12 times before I got him. I was 0 for 12 until 0 for 11, excuse me, until I got him. On the last day, I could get him. My daughter's in the bathroom. So I'm 1 for 12 on Lugia. So I only have 1. My wife has like 7 of them. My daughter and son don't have any because they joined after Lugia came out. So pray for my son. Hopefully he'll be able to get some. But if you're a Pokemon Go fan in America, Suicune is out now. Go to your local gym and get them. I've been trying. There's some Pokemon Go players at work that have lapsed a little bit. I'm trying to get them back in the game. They got to go out there. They got to get them because December, we don't know which ones are going to come out next. So it's always fun. What's next? Let's talk about one other thing that's going on this weekend. What the hell am I writing there? Actually, let's do a couple things here. First, I want to say I feel really good about myself right now. I now have 81 subscribers on YouTube. I know it's not as impressive as people have 3 million, 4 million subscribers, but 81 is still a good number for me. I wish I had more because the Snark Alex group that I'm a part of, who I thought would be interested in subscribing to my show, we have over 100 of those. Some of them have subscribed, but if they all subscribed, I'd be over 100 subscribers, but I only have 81. So I've been getting other people coming in, which is great. One of my things I like to do is I retweet podcasts that are posted on Twitter, and they come in and they retweet my show here. Not that I've seen much of a rise in any of my numbers from that, but I still think it's fun to do, and it's fun to get people interested in different things. But what's interesting about that is for the longest time, I was at 79 for such a long time, and then I got 80. I was like, okay, that's great. And then I dropped back down to 79, like someone dropped out. So now I was at 79 again. I was like, okay. I turn on today, I have 81. So over the last couple of days, I've gotten 2 subscribers, one of which is named Amy McClure or McGee. It's Amy McClure, I think, or McGee. I'm sorry, I wrote it down and my handwriting sucks. Thank you for subscribing. And then Cajun Comics signed up also. So thank you for signing up. So thank you guys. Shout out to you guys for subscribing. And hey, if you subscribe, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe to it. You get all this, every episode of Dylan Knows. 214 other episodes I have on a playlist. You can watch every single one of my Dylan Knows episodes. I also have all my appearances on Snark Alex Radio, which was on the Locked and Loaded web channel, which has died, but now it's come back to life. So I might be doing something with them. It's a web channel that spreads out to all over. And if you join up with that, your subscribers will skyrocket. So I'm thinking about probably taking this show, and basically it's like a radio station. Locked and Loaded is like a radio station. They play all kinds of stuff. And the guy's a friend of mine, Mike Belinsky, who's been on the show numerous times. The last time was the outrageous Showgirls episode we did back in January. To get him back on. That was so long ago. Damn. Was it January? Was it before, or is it earlier than, or is it more recent? It might have been more recent. Maybe not. Anyway, He's running it, so I'm thinking about looking into maybe just taking the audio, because it is a radio station, just taking the audio of this show and sending it to him, and he can edit it down and add commercials or whatever he needs to do to get it on there and fill a time slot, because my shows vary in time from like an hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours and 30 minutes to an hour and 40 to 10 to whatever. So I'd have to fill in some gaps here and there. He'd have to edit some stuff out. But we'll see. I haven't decided yet. But I want to thank you for that. And you can see all that stuff on my channel. You'll see my comic haul, which is my show where I show you all the comics I get for the week, covers, show you the interior artwork, talk about the story a little bit, talk about anything exciting that's coming up. That's great. You get this show, you get my old stuff. You can even play my playlists. I make playlists up on YouTube all the time of music that I like, but I try to, it works out pretty good. I got about 27 of them, and they're all different styles of music, and I think you'll like them a lot. And later on in 2018, probably in the fall aspect of it, I'm going to hopefully release new episodes of my fictional show, The Assistant. I have only filmed one episode, and I have one that haven't aired yet, and then I've got ideas for a bunch more, but I need to sit down and actually get some time to it. So 2018 might be my time to get that show up and running and maybe get about 20, 30, 40 episodes. And you can see the first couple seasons on my page as well. So if you're interested, just subscribe. Hit the subscribe button on there. Make a comments. Comments on the YouTube videos as well is fantastic and well loved. And more views. I would love to have more views. Retweet. Tell people about it if you like it. So moving on. Okay, I'll save these two, this one, this one. I have no idea what the hell that is. I don't know what that is. So, and I'll save this one for a little later in the show, and this too. All right, so we're going to focus on marriage. This came about, I don't know how it came about today, I think. Let me set up this scenario for you. I am presently wifeless. Earlier today, my wife, for those who know, who've been watching the show, or for those who don't, let me just explain to you. My wife is my son's co-den leader of his Cub Scouts. And they have an event called Powwow, which every year they do, and it helps den leaders. You know, it's workshops and discussions to help make them better den leaders. So my wife had never taken it in the 2 or so years she's been running the den. So her and her friend Liza, who also runs the den, both their my son and my wife's son, obviously. Noah is in Cub Scouts, and Liza's son Danny is in the same troop, same den as Noah, and then her youngest is in one of the earlier groups that her husband is a part of, and then her oldest is, I think, an Eagle Scout, or not Eagle Scout, is a Weeblo or something like that. So she's got 3 kids in Scouts. So she's never gone to Powwow either, because she's never been a co-den leader, but her and Dawn get along so well, the two of them run the den. So they did this powwow. So Dawn had to leave about 8 a.m. to go to this powwow, didn't come back till about 4. Then we did a little Pokemon Go hunting, and then she left at 6:30. Not 6:30, 6:45, I should say, because she's going to her sister's house. Her sister, Catherine, lives in Columbia, Maryland, which is about, I don't know, 25 minutes away from here. She's spending the night there because Catherine is a runner, and Catherine, who, even though she's the youngest, was able to convince Dawn to start running. And Dawn's been running for about a year now, off and on, and running some races. She ran a half marathon, and she's done some other 10K races, 5K races. Well, she's doing a 10K race tomorrow with Catherine. They're going to run the Bay Bridge. This is one of the first ones they did last year. So they're going to be running the Bay Bridge, which connects the eastern shore of Maryland with the main body of Maryland. It's over the Chesapeake Bay. It's the main roadway that people take to go to Ocean City. So they're going to be running the Bay Bridge. It's a long span, so they're going to run back and forth, I guess. So she's spending the night there because Catherine and my brother-in-law Mike will take her down there, and I think Mike might even be running it also. So they'll run it, and then she'll come back after that. So she won't be back till late tomorrow. You know, I'll talk about this now. So tomorrow, one of the things we're going to do, I'll talk about this now, and then I'll connect into marriage. So she spent the night at my sister-in-law's house, at her sister's house. So I won't see her again till around this, well, it'll be earlier than this, but probably around 7 o'clock tomorrow night. But tomorrow, one of the things that me and the kids are going to do is Build-A-Bear. My kids' school, along with a bunch of other elementary schools in the area, are promoting this whole weekend. You go to one of the Build-A-Bear, the Build-A-Bear shop in Towson Town Center, and what you do is you go there and you pick one of the bears. If you don't know what Build-A-Bear is, you build your own teddy bear. They have all kinds of skins you can choose from, and then they're all various prices. Some are pop culture, some are just regular bears or dinosaurs or whatever. You grab it, they put a fake heart in it, and then they fill it with the fluff, and then they sew it all up, and then you can get clothes and stuff like that. You pay for it. Now, we've done this for the last couple of years. The schools are sponsoring this weekend a teddy bear drive for kids at the Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital. Kids who can't or won't maybe get Halloween presents, or not Christmas presents because they're sick, or they're in the hospital, or their parents can't afford it, or whatever, they're in the hospital. And it's a good way to cheer kids up for the holidays. So the kids love doing this. So they'll use their own money and they'll buy a bear, and they will give it to the school, and the schools will combine. This is more than one school in Baltimore County are doing this. The schools will combine them and will ship them to the Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital, and the kids will get these teddy bears, a toy, which they might not have seen before. So it's really sweet. It's really nice. We're going to do that tomorrow. So we've been doing that for the last few years. So we'll be doing that tomorrow while my wife is running the Bay Bridge, which is down near Annapolis. Anyway, let me talk about marriage. So I was thinking about this, and I was like, you know what? There's been a lot of stuff I've been seeing on social media that I don't quite understand. People complaining about their marriage, their husbands or their wives or whatever. Now, look, some of it I understand might be comedy. Some of it might be, hey, the cool kids, that's what the cool kids are saying. They're complaining about, you know, when, or they like talking about killing their husbands or wishing to get kidnapped or discussing how much they hate their kids or whatever. And I know a lot of those are probably tongue-in-cheek, parody, whatever you want to call it, but it's still kind of disturbing the amount of stuff on Twitter and Facebook about people saying they hate their husband or their wives or their kids. And then, of course, you get those on Facebook. Now, it's usually Twitter, you get all that. On Facebook, you usually get the ones who talk about, you know, how wonderful their husband is or how wonderful their wife is, and great, which is fantastic, you know, and that's probably more of a general idea of what it is. And there might be people who love to talk about how great their husband and their kids are, and these are the same people on Twitter who say how much they want to kill them and do stuff like that. So it's a weird dichotomy when it comes up, and I don't quite understand it. You know, if it's parody, it's parody. I get it, but sometimes when you are reading it, you can't tell intent. You can't tell how someone there's no specific way to emphasize certain words, or you can't look at a person's face or body language when they're saying stuff like this. So you take it for face value, where it says, yeah, I wish I might watch my husband sleeping there and I dream of me choking him or snuffing his life out with a pillow. Now, that might be a little joke. Ha, 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 it's funny. And majority of it is, but what if it isn't? What if you really have this issue? And it makes you think, it's like, why in the hell did you get married in the first place then, if you don't love your spouse? Now, look, I'm a child of divorce. My parents are divorced. My wife's aren't. I know a lot of people who are divorced. I know a lot of people who are still married and have never been divorced before. So I've got both sides of it. My wife and I have been married for 14 years, and we've known each other for 17. And I don't foresee us ever getting divorced, which is great because I love my wife. So I see all that on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. And the other thing I see also is these weird, like, Twitter accounts. Not weird. They're just these Twitter accounts where it's just like, happy pictures or wifey pictures or wife her or stuff like that. And I get a good mix of things. One of them I get is, this is probably more along the lines of like 20-year-olds or millennials who are like, I can't wait for this day. And it's a picture of them dancing with their husband at their wedding. Or I can't wait for the day where I wake up with my best friend and our child and everything is hunky-dory and we're a big happy family. Or I'm going to do this when I'm a wife, we're going to do this, we're going to do, and it shows like all this, fancy stuff and stuff you don't, that I just have to laugh at because I've been married for 14 years. And yes, every marriage is different, but putting it into context with mine, I was like, yeah, good luck with all these fascinating dreams you have about what you're expecting. And then I read an article on Twitter, and I think it was on Facebook as well, that said or this might have been actually Yahoo, actually, to be honest. I think it was Yahoo. I was at work. I think it said this is the biggest cause of wedding stress or divorce or something like that. It's expectation. And the whole thing is, the storyline is like, when you first get married, you're expecting, the husband is expecting his wife to have dinner on the table, clothes washed, I don't know, house cleaned, whatever. And I guess women have it didn't really talk much about what the women's expectations are, but they did talk about expectations in general. And when reality sets in, the expectations go out the window, because that's exactly what marriage is about. But what makes a successful marriage is being able to balance the expectations. Sometimes you might find the perfect woman for you. Like Dawn and I, we don't really have expectations. I never had any expectations for Dawn to have dinner ready when I came in from work and have the house clean and stuff like that, because we're a partnership. We're a team. You're supposed to do both. This antiquated vision of a 1960s, somewhat 70s, maybe 50s, 60s, maybe a little bit of 70s, where the wife stays at home, takes care of the kids, cleans the house, makes food, and the husband goes and makes the money and works all day and comes back, and his wife brings him a martini and all this shit. And the 80s hit, and the wives are like, not so fast. We want to get our piece of the pie as well, which they are absolutely allowed to. I mean, you're going to tell someone, no, you can't look for a job. You have to stay home and just cook. Damn well, you're going to get divorced real quick. And that's kind of one of the reasons why my parents got divorced, is because my mom was that antiquated version where she was with the kids and had the house clean and food ready. My dad was the breadwinner. But then by the time my sister and I were old enough to be on our own and not had to have someone at home with us, my mom was getting bored. So she started getting a part-time job to do something to fill her time. And then gradually that led to wanting to do more, and she got a full-time job. And that sort of caused some stress, I think, with my dad, and then the whole thing dissipated. Now, I don't blame my dad entirely. He was born in 1947. He's one of the baby boomers. In the 50s, he lost his dad. No, actually, 1960, he lost his dad. At the age, and my dad was 13 years old. He was the oldest of six kids. So he sort of took on the father role, and which makes me think a little bit, because he saw his mother, my grandmother, having to work to help keep the house in order and stuff like that. And yet when he got married to my mom, he was expecting her to be this antiquated version of the housewife. And my mom was fine with it for a while, but then she wanted to move on. And as I said, stress happened and they split up. But that's what that Yahoo article was like. Expectations are what kills a lot more, weddings and marriages. And let's face it, you have a certain expectation when you hear the word marriage, and every person has a different expectation for it. And this Twitter page or whatever it is, I forget what it's called, which just says, can't wait for this time, or can't wait for this time where me and my husband and my kids go out and we frolic in the woods and we go apple picking and we do all this stuff. Yeah, you do that. I know a lot of people who do that. We've never done it, but we've always like, well, we'll do it sometime, but we never get around to it. But I know people do it. But that's an expectation. So what if you end up marrying someone who doesn't fill that expectation? Or, we're almost close to the 11 o'clock hour, so we can probably start talking a bit more blue about sex, expectations for sex. When it comes to marriage, one of the things that always pops in your head is, well, now you're going to always have someone to have sex with. Anytime you want. Believe me. And then particularly it gets even harder when you have kids, obviously. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Kids, we'll talk about sex a little bit more too. But the expectation is, when you first get married, that you'll be able to have sex whenever, wherever, because you don't have kids yet. This is someone that you love with all your heart. This is the one person you want to spend the rest of your life with. You have good sex. They have good jobs. You do good stuff together. You move in together. You get a house. And then, you have the expectation of, I'm going to turn my basement into a glorious secondary living room. Yeah, right. That, the house is always going to be clean, that there's going to be food all the time, flowers everywhere, candles everywhere, that everything's going to be gorgeous, and it's going to be the most wonderful, wonderful time. Now, look, that's great to have that expectation. And I hope you do it, because I know there's a lot of people who are able to do that, because marriage is different for every person. There might be some people who are able to swing all that, but let's face facts. More than likely, both husband and wife have to work to pay for the house. Now, there might be some people who have a really, really good job, like the husband or the wife might have a really good job, so the other one can either stay at home and work. So like that, I get it. As I said, every marriage is different. I'm just coming at it from my perspective, and perspectives I've seen from some other people as well. The expectation is always something different than what is reality. Can you get to that expectation? Sure, absolutely. It would be great, if my wife and I could turn our basement into what we want to. We want to turn this into a livable space. But right now, we just don't have the time nor energy, because we both work full-time jobs, and we have kids who are in elementary school. They are in all kinds of events and stuff after school. I've given you a look at my week. This is what a typical week for me is. Monday, the kids have school and then CCD. CCD is from 7 to 8:15. Tuesday, my son and my wife go to Cub Scouts after school. Wednesday, my daughter goes to drama club, and then we have the evenings free. Now, remember, the kids still have to do homework, and we have to get dinner and stuff like that. Thursday, every other Thursday, my daughter has Girl Scouts after school. That's not so big of a deal, because it's after school. So when I pick her up around 5:30, she's done her Girl Scouts, and then we have pretty much Thursdays pretty much free. Then Friday, my son has hip hop dance. And then we have the weekend where we have other plans with family and stuff we want to do around here and events like that. And then basketball is going to start, because both kids want to take basketball this year. So that's going to add an extra thing. So you have all these events worked out. You've worked all day. You might not sleep too well. You don't really get a chance to spend as much quality time as you want with your wife. Like with a good example was the kids don't go to bed. Well, my son goes to bed at 9 o'clock, and we sit in my daughter's room, or one of us sits in my daughter's room with her till about 9:30, and then she goes to bed, and then we sit on the sofa and we look at our phones, or we talk sometimes, or we watch TV, and that's only till about maybe 10:30, depending on how tired we want to be, or even 11 o'clock at the latest. We go to bed. I get up at 5:20. My wife sometimes gets up early if she's going to run. If she's going to run, she gets up at 5 a.m. to run. If not, sometimes she sleeps in till I get ready to leave around 6:50, 6:45, 6:50. I wake her up because she stays with the kids till 9 because she got to take them to the bus. And then she's got that whole stuff she's got to deal with. I go to work. I come back. She doesn't come back from work until about 6:30. The way we had it last year was she would get dinner prepped and then I would cook it. But now it hasn't been like that. So you make some exceptions. You try to figure some stuff out. And that's what marriage a lot of is. You have an expectation, but you need to temper your expectations a little bit. I'm just telling you that right now. You can reach for the dream. You can reach for the expectation. But you know what? If you don't get it, it's not the end of the world, man. So you're still married. You're still married, hopefully, to someone you truly love. Best friend, soulmate, whatever you want to call it, someone you want to spend the rest of your life with. You have to remember also that kids don't save a marriage. It might push away bad stuff for a while as you're staying together for the kids to grow up so they can both have both parents and they're not a product of a broken home. But then once the kids are on their own, it's just the two of you again. And that could be anywhere upwards of, let me see. I was 21, 20, let's see, how old am I? At 17, 73, I'm 44, okay. So I was 21 in 94, okay. And that's when I graduated college. Actually, I graduated college in 95, excuse me. So I was 22. So my mom and dad, let's see, 47, 57, 67, 77, 87, was 45 years old when I graduated high school, right? No, 55 years old. Bingo. It's 55 years old when I graduated high school, or college, excuse me. And my mom was 54. Now, if they were still together, you live to be nowadays in your 80s, if you're lucky, 80s, maybe even 90s. That's an additional 30 years, 30 to 40 years. 30 to 40 years. Now, if you were having problems before you had kids, and then the kids saved you because you spent all your time dealing with the kids and not with your mate, once they're gone, life reverts back to where you were unhappy. And then you have 30 years or so to go through that. That's why you need to find somebody that you love. And if you want to use the term soulmate, go ahead. I don't like using the term soulmate, but someone you truly love, a best friend. My wife and I had 3 years together before we had kids. No, we had 6 years together before we had kids. It was just two of us. And during that 6-year period, you really get to know each other. Now, granted, the beginning of the time was all sex and fun and everything was great. And then we moved in together, and then things started drifting away from sex and fun because then we started to have to focus on, okay, we got to make rent, we got to get groceries. It's just the two of us now. We are going to have problems making rent, or we won't have enough to get food this month or whatever. And you work through those problems while at the same time spending time together and stuff like that. And then kids came along and you have a whole nother set of issues and problems you have to deal with. Kids are great. You get to raise them together. You love them together. You do your thing together. You work as a team to raise them properly. But they're extraordinarily expensive. And you, again, have to start focusing on stuff. Now that's why most people say, or why most people you need to take date nights with your spouse. Okay, that is one thing that I will always preach to you. If you want the secret of a long-lasting marriage, is date nights, particularly when you have kids, or even when you don't have kids. If you say you don't want to have kids, still do date night stuff. Still woo each other like you're trying to score with each other. You live in the same house. Buy flowers, do things together that you both like. If the husband likes this one thing and you don't, suck it up and do it. If your wife likes to do something and you don't, you suck it up and you do it as well. But luckily, hopefully, if you have spent enough time with your spouse, you know what likes and dislikes are, and you've come to some similar likes and dislikes. That's what also helps a lot too. As I said, my wife and I love to do Pokemon Go. My wife somewhat more than I do. My wife and I like to watch movies. My wife and I like to read. My wife and I've got my wife into some certain comics as well. My wife has gotten me to try some new foods that I normally would never have touched in my life before I met her, but now I love them. We still go out and do stuff. We go to plays, stuff like that. And you always try to do these sort of date nights because it keeps the relationship fresh. It keeps you and your spouse a chance to focus on each other instead of your kids. Even if it's for a night, a weekend, whatever, get the grandparents involved. Let them take the kids. If you want to, take aunts and uncles, let them watch them for a little bit. And do these little trips and date nights. Now, luckily, I've been watching on Facebook. I've been seeing a lot of my friends from college and high school who are now married. They are saying, it's date night, something like that. That's good. You need to do that. It's funny. An idea of date night for Dawn and I is we like to do Pokemon Go hunting. So the kids might be at their grandparents' house. We might go out to dinner, and then we go Pokemon Go hunting sometimes. Not always the case, but let me give you an example. Back in March on her birthday for Christmas, I got her a weekend trip down to Baltimore City. Now, we live 30 minutes from Baltimore City. But I decided that for Christmas, I was going to get her a nice little weekend getaway. It's good for me, too, because I get to spend time with my wife and I get to, Anyway, I got tickets to see a show. I talked about this months ago, but I'm going to go over it again now. We saw the musical version of The Bodyguard at the Hippodrome Theater. And then we were staying at a Pier 6 hotel downtown right on the harbor. Our room had a view of the harbor and of the aquarium. We went to dinner at Ruth Chris Steakhouse. And then we walked around the inner harbor. We did Pokemon Go hunting. That was our date night. When we went up to Providence in September for my stepbrother's wedding, it was just two of us. The kids stayed at my in-laws' house. We took the train up together. We walked from the train station in Providence, Rhode Island to our hotel. We hung out in our hotel together. We went for a walk around Providence when we first got there. And then the next morning before the wedding, we took another walk around Providence, just the two of us, taking pictures of each other, talking, holding hands, spending time together, not thinking about the kids, thinking about each other, Not too long ago, about a month or so ago, school was closed for the kids on a Friday. My dad and stepmom decided they wanted to take the kids that day and then have them spend the night. Be the devil, see? My wife is just texted me. I'm going to text her right back because this is what marriage is about. She's at my sister-in-law's house, and she still texts me and says, "Good night, honey. I love you. Sleep well," and gives me the kissy emoji. And I'm going to write back, "I love you too. I love you too. Good night. Run well." And funnily enough, I am discussing our marriage live on Dylan Knows. Funny, she doesn't watch my show, so that's one thing she won't do. So so for our date night then, because they were going to spend the night at my dad and stepmom's house, we did Pokemon Go hunting. We went out to dinner at Panera. That's all we did. There was another time we went to a movie and ate dinner and did Pokemon Go hunting. You know, do we have another date night planned for this? Not yet. School's closed on the 17th. She's got the big smiley face on there. That we are awesome. Absolutely. Have a great show. Maybe on the 17th, my mom, I think we're getting her to take, she gave me the kiss emoji again. See, my wife loves me. Actually, no, you can't see it. I'm not going to show you that because it has other people's numbers on here. But I don't know. Maybe my mom will keep them for the night, the Friday night and the Saturday. We'll see. I don't know. And if that's the case, we'll have another date night. That's great. Do we have another one currently planned? No, but you know what? You still need to have that. I mean, I think my wife wants to go see Thor Ragnarok sometime, so we may have to just determine a time to do that. She wants to see it in the movie theater, so I have to figure that out. Maybe if we can get my mom to have them spend the night, maybe we could do that as our date night on the 17th. It's a possibility too, you know? But even though, you know, we might not see each other all that much because my wife makes more money than I do, and she works harder probably than I do. During the workday, we still text each other. We have conversations sometimes. We still flirt with each other a lot. One of my favorite things I love to do is at the dinner table when we're with the kids and we're having a discussion as a family, and things pop up. I like to make little remarks that the kids wouldn't understand, but my wife would, that are maybe of a sexual nature. And she always gives me this look and then smiles and grins and laughs. It's kind of funny. The kids don't know what's going on. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I still do it every once in a while too. You know, when my kids say something, it's like, oh, and I try to turn it dirty, but they don't understand it. So it's funny. But, you know, that's what marriage is. It's compromise. You know, expectations are okay, but you need to compromise. Compromise is the biggest thing. And compromise is like the biggest thing in the world. I mean, if our government could compromise, if they could have compromised when Obama was in office, this place would be in a much better position than we are now. Now, I don't want us to compromise with the psycho we have in the White House now. But if the Republicans would have just gotten off their asses and looked through their racist bullshit and tried to make compromises with President Obama, maybe things would be better, you know? But compromise is like the key. Compromise is the key, and forgiveness and just love. Just always say you love each other. I love you too. Always be sure to hug or kiss each other, or, you know, have some sort of touching involved, holding hands, rubbing shoulders, kissing necks, whatever, kissing lips, hugs, even in front of the kids. It's fine. It's even good in front of the kids, because if the kids see mommy and daddy kissing each other and hugging each other, they'll know that their parents love each other and that it's okay to show love for somebody. Now, you don't want to, you know, grind on your wife or fuck her in front of them, but, you know, just simple, you know, kissing, laughing, holding hands, you know, like when we go Pokemon Go hunting as a family, you know, the kids usually get in front of us running around, you know, they play their own little game while trying to catch Pokemon, and Dawn and I are walking down the road with our hands, you know, we're holding hands and we're talking, you know, and that's what you got to do. I do not foresee this marriage falling apart. That's my own personal thing. I think Dawn and I are too evenly matched that, you know, we have enough where once the kids are gone, we'll have enough interest, same interest, that we'll be able to tolerate each other for the next 30 years after that. So, you know, compromise. You may have one expectation, but you know what? If it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. You compromise. If you want one thing, you need to compromise. You have to give up something else, or you need to do something else in order to get the thing you want. Now, there are certain things that you don't want to force. Sex is one of those where if there's something specifically you want to do when you're being intimate, which is something else I highly recommend also, is another thing I see on Twitter is so funny. You see all these, it seems like sex-crazed women complaining about wanting to give, not complaining, but saying they want to give blowjobs, or they want to get eaten out, or they want their tits played with, or they want to be choked, or their asses slapped, or whatever. And at the same time, they're like saying, I don't want my husband to touch me, or I wish my husband wasn't here so I could go out and, they want to fuck someone else. And that's not a healthy way to think, and then, of course, there's always the cliche that men's sex drives go down as they get older, women's go up. And I can tell you for a fact, when it comes to my marriage, that's like the opposite. My sex drive is huge right now. Not that you need to know that, but it's 11, 12 p.m. and no one's watching anyway. My wife is undergoing early menopause, so her sexual energy is down low. But, and this is where I'm getting a little personal, and she's probably going to kill me, but she never watched the show anyway, so it doesn't matter. We still are able to get intimate at least once a month, sometimes 2 times a month, depending. And usually by the end of the year, we've been intimate about 20 sometimes, which in my eyes, I think from what I've been reading on Twitter and stuff like that, that's almost unheard of. People our age with kids are able to do that, but it's just the way it works out. I mean, you might not always, I might be bursting at the seams to want to get laid, but my wife is too tired, doesn't want to do it. I'm not going to force myself on her, because that's still considered rape if she says no. Now, if you say, hey, do you want to fool around a little bit? She says yes. Well, hey, score, you got it. But I know my wife's signals for the most part. So I know the majority of the time she's not interested in it. But I've worked it out where it seems to be about once every 3 weeks is when we tend to work it out during the year. So about once every 3 weeks is when we get intimate with each other. So you don't need to know all that, and I'm just going to skip over that because you guys can go, ew, that's disgusting, but that's just a little bit of a look into us. But that's just as important as well. A friend of mine on Facebook, when they were talking, she's very political, when they were talking about birth control and stuff like that, which is everything that the effing GOP is doing to women, and birth control is freaking ridiculous. Birth control is more than just a way to stop from getting pregnant. And it just seems like, if women just keep it in their pants, blah, 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 we wouldn't need to do this birth control. Well, you're a fucking idiot, you GOP assholes. And you have no idea. I mean, the latest now is like women should just be used for breeding. What the fuck is the matter with you? But getting back to my point, this woman on Facebook is a friend of mine. She's very political, and so she's been saying a lot of stuff. When this thing about birth control, your employer is not, you'd have to go to your employer now asking for them to pay for your birth control, which is, again, fucking ridiculous. But when that came out, she said, hey, birth control isn't just about preventing pregnancy, but I like to have sex with my husband, and I don't want to get pregnant. So yeah, it does help, but does that make me a slut that I want to sleep with my husband? No, it doesn't, obviously. But the government in charge now, they don't have any fucking clue about anything. So her herself said, look, I'll admit it. I like having sex with my husband. And she still has, she's the same age as I am. So, those myths about sex after marriage or in the 40s, yeah, you might not have it as much as when you were dating. Like when Dawn and I first started dating, it was like sex every weekend. But now it's more spread out because we have more things we've got to deal with. So compromise, date nights, sex, and just loving each other. And when you have kids, work together to raise the kids. It's not just a woman's job to raise kids. It's a mom and a dad. Help, if you're a new dad, clean the fucking diapers, change fucking diapers, get up with the kids at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, feed them a bottle if they're not breastfeeding, feed them a freaking bottle so your wife can go to sleep. Look, and the thing is, if you have a good wife or a good husband, you'll share the load. Like if I've gotten up 2 or 3 times with the kid at 3 a.m. over the last couple days, Dawn, and this has happened before, Dawn will say, hey, no, you say you've been up with them enough, I'll do it this time. So, so like that. So we when they were kids, we were lucky. Our kids were really good. Noelle was out like a light. She was sleeping through the night, about 1 month old. And it was glorious. But Noah was a different story. Noah took a little while, but once he got to be put in his own crib, the hardest part was putting him to bed. Most of the time he would sleep through the night, but sometimes early on he would have some trouble and he would wake up every once in a while, and Dawn and I would share the load. Now they both sleep through the night, which is great. There have been 1 or 2 times where Noah might have come into our room when he was scared or didn't feel good or whatever. Like the other day on Halloween, of all things, he came in at 5 a.m. He usually gets up at 7, said his stomach hurt. And Dawn was in the shower because she was going to run. Or not, she was in the shower. She's getting changed. No, she was already out the door. She was already out the door running at 5 when he came in. So I had him snuggle with me for a while. It's a team. Marriage is teamwork. It's compromise. It's mutual love. It's mutual affection. It's wanting to spend time together and not just with the kids. Spend time with the kids also, absolutely. But also make some time where you and your wife just spend some time together, not just for a couple hours in the evening. Go out on dates, go out to dinner, go see a movie, go for a walk. Even the smallest thing like that. Go shopping together. It doesn't matter. Just do something together. And compromise and work together. Your teamwork. Both clean the house. Both take care of the kids. If you have snow days, take turns. One day you take off of work, one day you take off work. If it's 3 or 4 days off, schools are closed, your kids can't stay by themselves. All right, I can take off today and tomorrow, but I'm going to need you to cover Wednesday or Thursday. And as a team, you make compromises. It says that's not convenient for me, but I can't have my husband miss 4 days of work. It's not fair to him either, or fair to the company. So you suck it up and you work on it. You compromise. You suck it up and you do stuff for your kids. You work on making your marriage still be exciting. And these people on Twitter who complain about their husbands and wives and all this stuff, then why the hell did you get married in the first place? Figure out what's going on. Maybe something's happening at work, or maybe something's going on. Maybe there is problems. My wife and I, we've had our arguments before. It still hurts me sometimes remembering some of the things she said to me during our fights. And we still have drag out fights every once in a while. Not often. But again, you work it out, you compromise, you don't give up on anything. We've been together for 17 years. We've been married for 14. My sister and brother-in-law are going to be celebrating their 24th wedding anniversary in a few weeks. They're going through some tough times now, but that's on them and they're working that out. But they've been married for 24 years. That's a long-ass time. My wife's family, my wife's parents have been married over 40 years. Now, my mom and dad were married for 18 years before they got divorced. But as I said, I don't see anything changing between Dawn and I over the next 4 years. Could I be wrong? Maybe. I hope I'm not. I hope nothing happens. I hope I'm right that nothing happens in the next 4 years. I don't foresee it. The one thing that does drive me crazy, though, is yesterday, we just paid our mortgage, so our money is sort of tight right now. But we usually have pizza on Fridays. And I texted my wife. Usually what happens is we have a local pizza joint called J&P's. And usually what I do is at 6 o'clock, I call J&P's and say, I'm going to order pickup. I order pizza, and I said my wife will pick it up and pay for it. And so, because it's on the way home from her work. So what she'll do is it takes about 20 minutes to make the pizza. So by the time they're done making it, Dawn will show up at J&P, say, hey, I'm here to pick an order for Dawn, because I give her name. And she gets the pizza, pays for it, and then brings it home, and we have pizza. Now, things are a little tight because of dance and a few other things as well. And Noelle was going to go spend the night at her friend Maddie's house last night. So we had to hurry in between stuff. So I said, do you want me to order pizza, or do you want me to get DiGiorno's from the grocery store, which is a lot cheaper than J&P's is, but it's just as good. At this point, I didn't care, and I wanted to see what she wanted to do, because my goal in life is to make sure her life is as easy as possible. And she goes, I don't care. What do you think? I was asking you because I wanted you to answer. And she does this to me all the time. I ask her a question, wanting to get her input on it. And she says, well, whatever you want to do. Now, either she really doesn't care, or she's just trying to keep me satisfied. What would make me satisfied is if you would answer the damn question. Again, I love my wife. I'm totally in love with my wife. I love everything about her. And she still turns me on. And we still have intimate moments together. And we still have fun date nights together. And we do goofy stuff. And I know for my wife, it's hard for her to sleep when we're not together, because one of the best feelings in the world is when we go to bed together and we both crawl into bed, she curls up on my chest and stays there for a while. And I love it. I put my arm around her, I hug her, I get a chance to kiss her, and I get to feel her. And she does it every night, and we go to bed at the same time. And I love it. I kiss her on the forehead. But if I kiss her on the forehead and then she gets up and starts kissing me on the lips, I know I'm going to get some action. That's the sign. Anyway, so that's my take on marriage. Compromise. Temper your expectations. Date nights. Teamwork. Be intimate. It's okay to be intimate. It'll be good. It'll happen. And that's the big event for today. All right, got a few more things. I'm going to probably go over 2 hours because there's a few other things I want to talk about. Real quick, Twin Peaks, one of my favorite shows on television, and my friend Dennis is going to hate me talking about this. He's probably not even going to watch it anyway. It's a shame because I'm going to talk about Twin Peaks. I'm going to talk about what he wanted me to talk about right after. He's not going to hear it. I said Twin Peaks, the 3rd season came out this year. I still haven't had an episode. I want to talk to Mike, and maybe we'll get together and we'll do a rehash of the season 3, which was really fascinating, kind of a frustrating ending in some cases, but it was really cool. I liked it a lot. The DVD version of it Blu-ray DVD version of it comes out in December, so it's going to be another good Christmas present. Or I might just say, F it, I'm going to buy it for myself. Though it would be a good Christmas present from maybe my wife. Because what I plan on doing is I have this all on my Amazon. It's a list of stuff that I have on Amazon. It's got stuff for the kids, got stuff for Dawn I want to get from, but it's got a lot of stuff for me also. You have a wish list function also where you can put all this stuff on a wish list and then share that to people so they know what to get you. So then I can share it to my dad, who does all the shopping online, and go, okay, I'm going to spend about $100 on him, so I'm going to get him this, boom, and this, boom, and this, boom, done. Christmas is done for Dylan. Out the door. So, hey, and it works. I'm getting something that I want, and it's my dad's paying for it, and I'm going to get it. So I don't care. That's great. That's one of the things about online shopping. It is great. I like still going to shops at Christmas time and seeing all the excitement, stuff like that. But online is where it's at, man. I mean, the only problem is, you got to make sure you get the present, because we had some stuff stolen from our stoop last year, which really sucked. It was only one day though, but it was like 3 presents that got stolen. That pissed me off to no end. So we'll see what happens this year. Maybe I'll ship it to my work. I don't think so. I still trust my neighborhood. So we'll see. What's I going with that? Oh, well, let's talk about that real quick then. Where was, Twin Peaks. We'll do that real quick and then I'll cover this other thing. So Mark Frost, who's one of the co-creators of Twin Peaks, along with David Lynch, he wrote a book before season 3 came out on Showtime back in April called The Secret History of Twin Peaks. And it was kind of a bizarre book because it focused more on a minor character in the Twin Peaks story. Turned out to be a government spook who worked as part of Project Blue Book, detailing aliens. There's a lot of stuff about aliens and stuff like that. It had little mentions of some of the characters in Twin Peaks, but it was mostly just a little history about aliens and weird creatures and stuff like that. And it made me think, okay, well, maybe then the new season of Twin Peaks is going to be like an alien connection. And it turned out, no, it really wasn't. Maybe some slight hints about it, but not exactly what you were expecting. But then about right before the new season of Twin Peaks started, there was an announcement that Mark Frost was going to write a second book, a follow-up called The Final Dossier, which is going to come out after season 3. So a lot of people are thinking, okay, it's going to fill in the blanks of anything that happened, that season 3 doesn't fill in the blanks. And season 3 didn't fill in like any blanks. So I got The Final Dossier from Amazon the other day, and I started reading it yesterday. And for fans of Twin Peaks who had a lot of questions after season 2 and a little bit of season 3, but mostly season 2, and what's going to happen with what's and how your favorite characters from the 90s TV series got to the point where they were in season 3, which is 25 years later, this book covers it. This book answers so many freaking questions about what's going on with the characters and what's going on. It's almost like, really? Wow, you're really solving a lot of stuff. And he answers a ton of questions, opens up a few little other things, but he answered a lot of questions. So if you're a fan of Twin Peaks, I definitely would recommend picking up The Final Dossier, and it'll fill in the details about, particularly the biggest one is, the end of season 2, where we realize Cooper's been possessed by the evil Bob, and he smashes his head in the mirror and goes, "How's Annie? How's Annie?" We find out how Annie is. We find out how Dr. Jacoby got into his Dr. Amp persona, which appeared in the season 3. We learn more about what happened to James after season 2. We learn what happened to Donna. We learned a little bit of what happened to Audrey, which her storyline was kind of frustrating in season 3, but we find a little bit more about her. But a lot more stuff is filled in the blanks, and it's really quite interesting. And it's good, and a lot of it's like, okay, that's what a lot of people were speculating on. It's good that that's what it is. So good on that. So definitely pick up, if you're a fan of Twin Peaks, pick up The Final Dossier. I'm not going to talk about this since I'm running out of time. It's kind of stupid anyway. There's a urinal in some place, I think down south, maybe Nashville, whatever, that when you pee in it, there's all kinds of stuff on the urinal as well. It makes guitar sounds. No, really, it's a true story. And you can record your pee music. So you're peeing and you hit all these sensors on the toilet and it makes guitar twangs while you're peeing. So when you're hitting the pee, you can shoot up this way and shoot this way and go bing, and it'll record it and you can play it over again. That's kind of cool, actually. I wish I would have talked about that a little bit more, but and done more research on it. But it's something, like, look that up on Facebook. Is where I read the article. It's like, or on Yahoo or something like that. Type in like urinal that plays music, and it should pop up. Amazon, something about that. This was something I want to talk about last week because it came out last week. I'm not sure if I like this Amazon key idea. I don't know if you heard about this. And I just mentioned, it's the holiday season coming up, and a lot of people have complained that there are robbers out there who follow like UPS trucks or post office trucks or whatever. And when they drop off the Amazon packages that have Christmas presents and stuff like that onto somebody's porch and then drive away, these people go up and they steal it and put it in their car and drive away, because you never know what could be there. Could be a new 3DS, could be a new camera, could be books, whatever. And there you go. You're not buying anything, but you're giving your family a happy Christmas, which is kind of a bitch, because it's crime and you're stealing, and it's not cool. So Amazon decided, hey, to make sure that this doesn't happen during the season, why don't you join the Amazon Key program, which is you will provide a key to your house to our Amazon delivery people. And when you order something from Amazon, we will take it to your house, unlock your front door, drop the packages in your front door, relock the door, and leave. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a really good idea. But what's to stop any delivery people from, all right, you're unlocking the door, and you can go in the house now. You drop the boxes off. Well, what's going to stop them from, hey, let me go into the house. Let me see what's in their house and take some of their shit, or grab some food or drink or whatever, or wine or whatever, and take it and just walk out and lock the door. We delivered your present, but we came in and we stole their stuff. I don't know if they're going to have a vetting thing or whatever like that. I would assume they would, but I'm not sure how I feel about that. On the surface, as I said, it's a good idea, because now you don't have the people who steal stuff off of your porch. Granted, as I said, I only had a couple packages. We had 3. It was on one day. 3 packages just happened to arrive, and they got stolen off of our porch. That was the only time. We had other packages get delivered. We had packages delivered after that day that didn't get touched. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do this year. Maybe I'll deliver it to work now, but that means having to go in and change the stupid address again. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. I don't know about that. Getting back to comics real quick. As I said, when I talked about marriage, getting likes and dislikes, whatever. When I started seeing Dawn, I got her into comic books. So I was a big comic book fan, obviously. And I had a bunch of comic books, and she loves to read. So she would see me reading some stuff and it looked interesting to her. So she'd pick it up and she'd read it, or she'd read some of the trades I had on the shelf, and she was interested in it. And then eventually, after a while, she became not a full-fledged comic book fan, but she read a lot of comics. So now fast forward to today, I buy her specific comics just for her. Captain Marvel, Dark Crystal, are books that I don't read, but I buy directly for her. And then there's some that I think she might like. There's a comic that I talked about in my show before. I'm not going to talk about now because we're getting over time now, called Time and Vine, about a time traveling winery that I had her read. She loved that also. And my daughter has also shown, as I said earlier, my son has been drawing comics, and my daughter has been showing interest in comics as well. She's been reading some comics here and there, and some of my comics, and getting books out of the library, because the libraries have really good graphic novel selections and comic book selections now too. So she's been getting them out of the library. So the other day we went to the library, and she discovered Squirrel Girl, which is a character from Marvel. And she got like 6 trades and read them all, and she absolutely loves Squirrel Girl. Now, my wife, being my wife, who has to read everything, she saw those and, oh, it looks interesting, and she started reading it, and now she's hooked on it. So now I have some new ideas for the holidays to get my kids, my daughter and Dawn, some Squirrel Girl stuff. So again, that's a benefit of marriage. I mean, as I said, known her for 17 years, and I've gotten her hooked on some comic books. And I've had her read Strangers in Paradise is another one I had her read, and that's coming back in January, so I'll get that for her too. And there's and she just reads some other stuff, and sometimes she just picks stuff up and just reads it of her own accord. And so it gives me a chance to talk to her about what's going on in comics, and she's interested in it. So bonus on that. Also, it's real funny. A couple of people at work finally saw a picture of my wife, said, "Damn, your wife is hot." They were almost surprised, like, "Damn, how'd you get such a hot wife?" So that made me feel good. It's like, yeah, I know my wife is hot. let me just cover this Pokemon Go story real quick. It's a nice story. Oh, no, and I was going to do this also. This is for Dennis, even though he's not watching. Don't you hate it when you're in the fast lane and people are going too slow? Well, that's for you, Dennis. Yeah, it's one of my pet peeves is when you're in the fast lane, which, when you're on a highway, you go 10 to 15, maybe sometimes 20 miles over the speed limit all the way to the left. And everybody knows that's the fast lane. And then you get those people who just, which is fine. I mean, you're riding the speed limit. You're at 60 or whatever, but don't do it in the fast lane, because the fast lane's fast lane. That means people are going to be wanting to go faster. And there have been some rumors here in Maryland, I guess, that they're going to start ticketing people who are going too slow in the fast lane, because it's the fast lane. That's the left lane is always been the fast lane here in Maryland. I don't know if it's the same everywhere else. I think it is. It's always been the fast lane. So the police are probably not as accustomed to pulling people over going 15, 20 miles over the speed limit in the fast lane as they might if you're doing 15, 20 in the middle lane or the right lane, particularly the right lane. The right lane is considered the slow lane because that's where all the exits usually are. So you want to go slow because all the cars are coming in and off of the highway, and sometimes some of those exits are just non-existent. So you're coming off the exit, here's a car right here, and you have nowhere to go because there's cars behind you. You're like, oh shit, what am I going to do? So if you're going slower, then it's not as bad a deal because you're supposed to be going like 30, 40 on the exit anyway, and you got to speed up once you get on the highway. But the fast lane's a fast lane. You got to go fast on there. And that's one of the reasons that causes traffic probably is the fact that people go too slow in the fast lane. And that is kind of pet peeve. It's not as big of a pet peeve as not yielding at yield signs. But still, and the other thing also is that trucks also, trucks are allowed on the highways. That's fine. But I'm always seem to be like I'm stuck behind them. And then you see these other cars going around you, and then you see them go in front of the trucks. You're like, God damn it, there's probably open space there. So you try to get around them, and you go around them, and sure enough, there's space. So you speed up, and you go in front of them, and you're able to move on. But it seems like I'm always behind these trucks that are going extraordinarily slow. So Dennis, that's for you. And my one viewer, I'm sorry to say I'm getting close to the end of my show, but I'm glad you joined me. I still got one or two more things I want to talk about real quick, and then I'm going to out of here. Speaking of pet peeves, I know we didn't have me and Jerry Fletcher didn't have a top 10 list in October because I tend to want to try to do like a Halloween or horror theme, but we've been doing this for 4 years, and I think we've hit almost everything that we could think of. We did like TV shows, movies, haunted characters, and stuff like that. So I really couldn't think of anything else to do for it. So we just didn't do a episode of our top 10 in October. Now, the next few months are going to be different. This month, Jerry and I are going to meet up in about 2 weeks because MJ and I are going to be doing the show next week. In 2 weeks, the weekend of the 18th and 19th, Jerry and I are going to do top 10 pet peeves. So that'll be a lot of fun. December, I'm aiming for top 10 Star Wars characters with her. I haven't told her that yet, but because we're both fans of Star Wars, and Star Wars Last Jedi comes out in December, we'll probably do that because we've done all the Christmas ones also. So we're going to focus on something else. And then January, we're going to sort of piggyback on The Last Jedi, I think, and do top 10 alien species in TV, books, and movies and stuff like that. So I think those are the next 3 top 10 lists. So at least for the next 3 months, we have top 10 list ideas. So you'll see Jerry back in a couple weeks, actually the weekend, the 18th and 19th. We'll do that. I don't know when exactly because we are going to have company that weekend. We'll see if it's going to be Saturday night or Sunday, and depends on her schedule as well. But she said it's open. Again, MJ and I are probably going to meet next Sunday, which would be the 12th of November, to discuss Thor Ragnarok. Tony Solo and I are going to be doing a new episode of The Snooze on Thursday. We'll talk about Walking Dead. We're going to be getting to episode 3 tomorrow. So we'll talk about the first 3 episodes of Walking Dead on The Snooze next Thursday. So finally, as I always do on my solo shows, and this is the best I could do for Guy Fawkes. This isn't really Guy Fawkes, but this is from iRobot, I think. But Guy Fawkes Night is tomorrow. It's also Bonfire Night. And this is mostly more British stuff. Alan Moore made it more famous in his V for Vendetta graphic novel, which they made into a movie with Natalie Portman. But tomorrow is November 5th. It is Guy Fawkes Day. It is Bonfire Night over in Britain. So it's a big day over there. Here, not so much, because it didn't affect us. It was an English thing. But still, we know V for Vendetta, and so the mask is pretty popular. I mean, as I said, this isn't exactly the Guy Fawkes mask, but it's similar. So what I always do is, I'm a huge fan of holidays, and you all know that also. So I go to my Check I Day, which is a website you can go to, checkiday.com. Or if you follow them on Twitter, it's Check I Day on Twitter. At Check I Day is their Twitter account name. And every day is a holiday, literally. They might not be holidays like Halloween or Christmas or whatever, but there are holidays that are real. These are real holidays. These aren't just made up. These are ones that have officially been created as holidays. So today's holidays are Book Lovers Day, Digital Scrapbooking Day, King Tut Day, Learn to Homebrew Day, National Candy Day, National Chicken Lady Day, National Skeptics Day, National Waiting for the Barbarians Day, National Wine Tasting Day, National Use Your Common Sense Day. Yesterday, November 3rd, was Cliche Day, which is awesome. Give Someone $1 Today Day, National Housewife Day. Again, these were yesterday. National Jersey Friday, National Medical Science Liaison Awareness Appreciation Day. This was yesterday also. And National Sandwich Day. Thursday the 2nd was All Souls Day, Cookie Monster Day, International Stout Day, Look for Circles Day, National Deviled Eggs Day, National Men Make Dinner Day, Plan Your Epitaph Day, Practice Being Psychic Day. And then we'll take a look at tomorrow's. I'll go to checkiday.com and we'll take a look at what tomorrow's holidays bring. It'll obviously be Guy Fawkes Day and Bonfire Night, whatever you want to call it. Both are the names of it. It's American Football Day tomorrow. Ravens versus Titans. Yeah, boy. They better freaking win. Bank Transfer Day. Commercial TV Broadcast Day. Donut Appreciation Day is tomorrow. Sweet. National Gunpowder Day. Sweet. Well, yeah, obviously. I guess Bonfire Night. Love Your Red Hair Day. Lisa Marie Bowman. Boom. I'm going to copy you on it tomorrow, and I'll retweet it for you. Love Your Red Hair Day. The end of daylight savings time. Duh. Which means you got to turn your clock. Before you go to bed tonight, again, Mr. One Viewer, Mr. and Mrs. One Viewer, before you go to bed tonight, turn your clocks back an hour. That way you save an hour. So technically by the time, you watch the end of this show and you get ready to go to bed, whatever, you turn the clock back, it'll only be 11 o'clock, not 12 o'clock. Zero Tasking Day. Wow, they didn't mention Guy Fawkes Day. That's a curious oversight, Check I Day. I might have to discuss that with you. I think I will tweet them that. So that's what's going on. So if you want to see what other holidays are coming up, go to checkiday.com, checkiday.com, to find out what's going on, or follow them on Twitter at checkiday, checkiday, or just follow my Twitter accounts. I usually, my Dylan Proco account is the one I always retweet all of them on. So that's it. That's it. It is the first episode of Dylan Knows in November. I hit everything I wanted to, and I only went over 15 minutes. This is a 2-hour and 15-minute episode. Thank you, my one viewer who showed up. Hey, 2 hours and 15 minutes, episode 215. How about that? That's crazy weird, man. I better shut down before it turns to 216 and I screw up everything. So thank you, one viewer. If you want to catch what I said before, I shall post this probably about an hour or so because I have that extra hour probably. And I'm probably going to stay up till about 1 a.m., which would be technically 12, since I'm turning the clocks back, obviously. So don't forget to turn your clocks back. Watch this news on Thursday. Dylan Knows probably Sunday, and probably a new episode of the Comic Call probably on Friday. So keep your eyes peeled. Have fun. Go out. Enjoy yourself. Happy weekend. Happy November. And enjoy yourself. Bye.